civil unrest in April 2015 occurred in Baltimore, largest city in Maryland, when protests turned into riots. Civil unrest beginning on April 25th is in reaction to the April 19th death of Freddie Gray. Gray, a 25-year-old African-American resident of the city, died in police custody a week after being arrested. Apparently in good health at the time of his arrest, Gray later sustained injuries to his spine and larynx. The cause and circumstances of his injuries had, as of that writing, had not been officially determined. He fell into a coma on April 12th. Despite multiple surgical attempts, he never regained consciousness. He died a week later. So 6 police officers were suspended at the time. Now they're going to be charged with murder,
among other things,
from what I understand. But I mean, the thing about this is, the same thing happened in L.A. The officers involved were charged. They were ultimately exonerated. Then we had some problems. Right.
Well, what happened here is they overcharged them. They charged them with things that can't possibly be true. Now, I don't know if they. Some people say they have. Some people say that the overcharging is a problem, and other people don't. I mean, we'll have to see. It depends on the state. I don't really know anything about Maryland state law in those terms.
Well, just to jump right into this, do you think that these charges were made because they were hoping it would calm all the civil unrest?
Maybe in the short term, but I think that they overcharge them so that they'll be let go and there will be more unrest. Because it seems to me that the powers that be in Baltimore have done everything they possibly can to make this as bad as possible.
Well, it says injuries to his spine and larynx. Now, what that tells me is chokehold. You can crush somebody's spine and their throat with a good chokehold.
You can, but there's no accusation of that going on here, and I don't, you know me, I'm not reflexively on the side of the cops, but there's something about this case that just ain't right. I don't really know what it is, but there's something more to it. There's been a whole lot of. There's a whole lot of stuff, like a whole lot of conjecture going on behind the scenes, and it's just hard to decipher fact from fiction.
Right.
Now we know that he was fine when they put him in. They got it on video. They didn't beat him up outside of the truck. They weren't rough with him. They put him in the truck. Now he was struggling. He was being belligerent. He was not cooperating. Right. So they supposedly, now here's where I'm not sure, but as I understand the story, he was jumping around in the back, and they restrained his legs, but did not put him in a seatbelt.
Right.
And apparently that is a rule that was recently instituted, that they must have him in a seatbelt in the back. And it was so recent that they may not have known about it, and the van may not have been equipped with proper seatbelts in order to do that. But anyway, so now one of the people in the paddy wagon with him went, and he has said that Freddie Gray was trying to injure himself in the back, slamming himself up against the side of the truck. And then he has since recanted that story.
He recanted?
Yeah, he's walked it back.
I'm going to just assume that no matter how much struggling you do, no matter how much personal injury you can do to yourself, it's very hard for you to
do that.
Snap your own spine and your own larynx.
I agree, and I'm not sure. I actually, this is my first time hearing about the larynx. I had only heard about his spinal injury and not the larynx.
Yeah, it's something that's probably the injury begins in the throat, extends down because it's connected. Down the back,
larynx bone's connected to the backbone.
Yeah, so it's like like when you see in a movie when the crazed killer snaps somebody's neck, when Arnold Schwarzenegger
when Mandy Patinkin ripped the guy's spinal cord out in Alien Nation. That was what I was looking at.
Well, I was thinking of Hatchet, or even like True Lies. You remember?
I still haven't seen Hatchet.
In
There was
True
a
Lies,
spinal
Arnold
rip out in
Schwarzenegger
True-
walks around and he's snapping people's necks like he's,
Well,
lighting
wait a minute.
packs.
When Patrick Swayze was ripping out throats and he ripped out the larynx of that dude, how come his spine didn't fall out?
I don't know. There was a great scene in Under Siege where Steven Seagal did that too. He ripped somebody's throat out. That was,
You need to ask these guys. These are like the expert witnesses that we need to talk to. We need to clear this up.
Well, Swayze is going to be a
talk
little
to
difficult to get in touch with. So these peaceful protests were organized after his death, and apparently spontaneous protests started after the funeral service. They eventually became marred with civil unrest and violence. As of April 28th, at least 20 police officers have been injured, 250 people have been arrested, thousands of police and National Guard troops have been deployed. State of emergency was declared in the city of Baltimore.
In other words, it was like a day ending in a Y in Baltimore, but a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Like Baltimore is a fucking toilet.
Baltimore is like a worse version of Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is
a bad thing. Yeah.
So we get to these things.
Philadelphia as one big bad neighborhood. That's and Baltimore is like 10 times worse.
Much worse. If you've ever seen the show Homicide: Life on the Street,
yes, and that
very
was
accurate.
15 years ago, 20 years ago, practically. I mean, think about how bad it is now compared to then.
Yeah.
Because it ain't gotten better. Yeah.
We always get to these things a week or a couple of weeks after they actually happen, so we can only hope the anger and the violence has died down, or at least quieted down. So what the hell is the deal? This is the second time we've set about recording an episode of BlissVille Fridays that focused on some kind of police-related violence resulting in the death of a civilian, a black civilian. And I don't want to feel like we have to repeat what we said originally. So maybe we should throw in some jokes. What do you think? Shake it up a bit.
Sure.
All right. Can you tell a joke and I'll do the rim shot?
Shit, you got to give me some time here because it's a little early for Freddie Gray jokes, I think. I mean, I don't know.
No Freddie Gray. No.
Oh, not a Freddie Gray joke?
No. Any kind of joke, like the duck walks into the doctor's office, I forget what he said after that.
Now you got me on the spot here. I don't even know. I can't do it. I'm not a trained SEAL, Dave. I can't do it.
Look up a dirty joke online.
Look up a dirty joke online?
I'm sure there's a million. Okay.
Some of these are fucking horrible. I cannot be on tape saying these things. What does 70-year-old pussy taste like?
What?
Depends.
All right. That was good. I put in the rim shot right there. You know what? A friend of mine told a joke and I didn't get it, and I had to repeat it to my wife to get it.
Oh, really?
The joke was, what's the opposite of Christopher Walken?
What?
Christopher Reeve. And I didn't get the joke.
Boy.
And I told it to Bronwyn, and she's like, "Oh, that's fucked up." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Get it? Because Christopher Reeve."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh." And we didn't laugh. We just said, "That's fucked up." So, let's go back to Crown Heights. Remember Crown Heights?
I remember Yankelbaum.
Yankel
Rosenbaum. We shortened it to Yankelbaum.
The Crown Heights riot was a 3-day race riot that occurred from August 19th to August 21st, 1991. The Crown Heights section of Brooklyn turned black residents and Orthodox Jewish residents against each other, causing deteriorated racial relations. But it was always pretty hot down there anyway between the two groups.
Yeah,
So,
those Orthodox Jews, I mean, they're always running around beating up people. You have to watch them. It's those Hasids are always running around.
Should I do the rim shot or
No, I'm being totally and completely serious.
or should I do the bullshit cough?
Bullshit. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's up to you.
Both
of them.
The thing about it was the relations were already tense because Orthodox Jews have a very systematic and methodic way of dealing with their own, and their own. It's part of religion. I mean, like everyone else is unclean. That's how they view us, and that's actually how Muslims view us as well. We're all seen as unclean if we're not one of them, even against other Jewish sects. right? They're,
Right.
like where you have Ashkenazi and Sephardic, they don't often come together. It's very strange. But now, Mayor Dinkins at the time made this statement that said basically, let them vent, which is similar to what the mayor of Baltimore said in the wake of these most recent riots, right?
Right.
I forgot exactly what did she say?
She said that we are going to give them space to destroy, which she later denied saying. But she said it. It's on tape. Everybody saw it. And instead of
she says, I didn't say that.
This is an indication of the kind of person that she is. Instead of saying, hey, I shouldn't have said that. That's not what I meant. Like, it was, I never should have said that, and explaining what she did mean. She actually tries to tell us all that we didn't hear what we heard. That what's on video doesn't exist, and everybody is wrong.
So is it possible that this isn't necessarily about race and more about access to certain privileges? Because the mayor of Baltimore is a black woman. The chief of police is black. The chief of the policemen's union is black. And all three...
6 police officers who have been charged are black as well.
Right. So this isn't necessarily race, is it?
This is... what it appears to me, at least on the surface, is whatever happened that day. I still think that the whole thing is a little fishy, but
right.
whatever happened that day, what's happened since has been all about maximizing this to deliver political gain to somebody. This has all been all about making people angry.
All of Maryland is a Democratic liberal state. Baltimore is heavily liberal, so. Yeah. This again, all of this does not add up if you listen to the current rhetoric in the media.
No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, Obama was on TV blaming Republicans for it. I mean, I don't really know.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that, and I didn't understand. I didn't really understand unless this is just more of that mindless fanning the flames.
Yeah, it's like all of this happened because the Republicans control Congress and let the Democrats do whatever they want 3/4 of the time. I mean, really?
Yeah. I don't get it. Let's go back to Los Angeles. Remember Los Angeles?
I do remember. I'm trying to forget.
I don't remember Los Angeles.
You remember?
I had to throw the bullshit cough in there.
You're talking about what's his name? Can we all just get along?
The 1992 Los Angeles riots. Okay, this is from Wikipedia, which is hilarious. Also known as the Rodney King riots, the South Central riots, the 1992 civil disturbance, and the Los Angeles uprising.
Yeah.
Right? It was an uprising, like Bob Marley.
Series it was a total uprising because everybody was better off afterwards.
Yeah,
totally.
Lootings, arson, civil disturbance that occurred in Los Angeles County.
That helps everybody, that kind of thing. I mean, that's
people destroying their own property and setting their own neighborhoods on fire. You
bet the only thing that would make it better for them was if they set somebody else's neighborhood on fire. Yes, sir.
All right, so what happened was, I can't believe I have to remind people, but in 1992, following the acquittal of police officers on trial regarding a videotaped, widely covered police brutality incident, they were the largest riots seen in the United States since the 1960s, and the worst in terms of death toll. And I'll never forget the image of a bunch of people pulling this dude out of a truck and just beating the holy hell out of him.
Reginald Denny.
Yeah, just because he was white, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they beat him to death, or not to death. He was
nearly
almost to death. There were some other people that they did kill, and I never forget. Like there's this thug motherfucker kicking him in the head and then doing like a cheer because he just kicked this dude in the fucking face or the head or whatever.
Right.
It's like, man, it's it's just there's so much fucking hate in the world. Just so much fucking evil in the world.
I'm going to get into this too because this is interesting too. It's another psychological point I have. So I would say there's a kind of collective madness in the mob mentality wherein normal everyday law-abiding citizens and some who aren't will suffer a temporary dementia, seek out targets for their violence, fully ado or a shared madness or a fully a plessure, the madness of many, and infects a group and spreads like a particularly aggressive cancer, and this may be what transforms the sane to the insane. What do you think about that?
I don't buy it. I mean, would you do that? That was going on outside your door?
You know,
were you going to go and join in, or are you going to like?
I was hoping that you were not going to ask me if I would do that, because the problem is I really seriously, honestly cannot give you an answer. I don't know. I never get that supercharged with anger. I know some people do. They really do get crazy angry, and they kind of surge in a group, and there's more power when they all feel the same way, so they feel invincible, like they could do anything. Nothing has hit me that hard for me to feel that way, so I really can't give an honest answer, because I could be one of those people. I don't know.
One of those people who doesn't want to own a gun because you don't trust yourself or something?
That's an interesting thing. I thought about when I lived.
I used to say that about myself. And then I was like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Like, I'm a well-adjusted guy. I don't go around killing people. Like, I don't
know that I would do that here in the city, but when I was living up in Brewster, I did seriously contemplate getting a gun. But then I decided against it and ultimately moved back.
In the city, I don't think you're allowed anyway.
For some reason, I feel safer here. I really do. I mean, some
of
my neighbors lock their doors and they're scared to death. And I felt that way in Brewster. I don't feel that way here. I don't know why. I for some reason, New York is kind of my thing. I know.
Well, look, I don't relate to the idea that people are going to just jump in. I would never do that.
I will agree.
I'm not
I will
gonna
say
go
this:
destroy property if somebody's property, it doesn't belong to me. Like, to me, that's just abhorrent, and I would never do that. I don't care how mad I am. I don't really understand
it. Named S.E. Cupp, who's also very hot, by the way, but she made a very good point. She said that the majority of gun-related crimes are committed by people with unlicensed firearms.
That is true.
And, hardly anybody who has a registered gun really commits any crimes. So trying to ban guns is only going to take guns out of the hands of lawful citizens who just want to protect their own property and put more into the hands of criminals who intend to use them for wayward purposes.
I agree. If there were more guns in, I think one of the reasons why there's been, we had one of these incidents here in South Carolina in Charleston, you do not pull that shit here. Your neighbors are armed, right. Straight up. Like, you do not go around trying to fucking fuck with somebody's property, because straight up you will get shot. Don't fucking do it. It's that simple.
Yeah, I have a feeling a good portion of people who live up in Putnam County also too. I mean, I know my friend Scott, who lives in Westchester, keeps guns, and he likes having them. He likes having guns.
Yeah, I keep guns. I like having guns. If somebody's trying to bust down my door, fuck with my house, my family, my possessions, I'm fucking shoot them.
Do you do any hunting?
I've never gone until actually last week. Last Sunday, I went hunting for the first time.
For
turkey. I went turkey hunting, which is actually like one of the hardest things to hunt. And that was my first time. We came so fucking close, but no, hunting is not generally my thing. I'm getting more into it. I know a lot of people who are, so like I'm kind of tagging along, and they're teaching me. Like, I think it's a good useful skill to have. Mm-hmm. So I'm learning there.
So I feel like this is going to get worse, that there is no peaceful resolution, that the police will continue to operate above any laws, that civilians will continue to test their tolerances, and then finally the true motive of law enforcement, that of protecting the rich from the poor, the powerful from the helpless, will be revealed. I mean, thinking like a cop drunk on his own sense of power, it's easier to keep the peace with a bullet to somebody's head than to carefully moderate a protest, try to diffuse the situation. I mean, what's a bullet to the head? It's some paperwork and maybe a suspension with pay, right? It's practically a minor inconvenience to these people.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can understand. I mean, like one of my biggest criticisms of the police in general is that they're always doing the easiest possible thing, and instead of they'll trample over somebody's rights for their own convenience. Heaven forbid that they actually wait for a guy that they want to serve a warrant on to come out of his house, rather than do a midnight raid and go in the doors and windows and send a SWAT team in and flashbang babies in cribs and upset and traumatize everyone else in the household because you have a bench warrant for this guy who didn't show up for a ticket.
Yeah.
You know, and you know this happens regularly, all the time. Um, and you know, I'd really like to see some real police work done. I mean, one of the things, you know, that like it's a touchy subject, but yeah, drunk driving laws are another one where they're all they're looking for
Right.
is to shoot fish in a barrel instead of actually we could actually make some changes in this country where we weren't trying to pad the pockets of our law enforcement and our counties and stuff, and instead actually did something to make drivers on the road better. We certainly there are a number of things that we could do, and we don't do any of them. Instead, we do stuff that's ridiculously unconstitutional, no matter how constitutional the Supreme Court has said it is. Setting up checkpoints and checking everybody who goes through to see if they're drunk does not pass constitutional muster. I don't care if you're, you know, it doesn't pass first grade Constitution class.
Right.
You know, and there's so many better things that we could do. There's so many better ways that we could run our policing. And unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to be that anyone has any desire to actually make that happen.
Right.
Nobody even puts forth, you know, it's like the healthcare system. There are a number of ways that we could fix the healthcare system. You know, instead you have a bunch of Republicans saying, well, we should leave it the way it is because it's a free market, which it isn't. And then you have a bunch of Democrats who want to take it over and do this ridiculous ACA that's nothing but a bunch of layers of stupid on top of a million other layers of stupid.
Yeah.
And instead, nobody wants to actually look and solve the problem.
No. They're all pretty much just in a delaying and holding pattern.
Well, that's mostly what I think the country is in now. I think if you look at the way business is conducted,
what do you think they're waiting for? Exactly.
They're waiting for the boom because everything is going to come crashing down, and everybody is just trying to get until that without being blamed. All of these CEOs of all these companies, they're making these horrific decisions that are mortgaging their company's future with borrowing money to buy back stock and stuff like that. That's one of the things that's propping up the stock market right now. And all they care about is they're going to get their golden parachute before everything crashes to the ground, so they're going to be fine. The company is going to go down the tubes, but right now in the short term, they're going to come out smelling like roses. And and this is where everybody's living. They're going to put everything on the credit card and worry about it later, because you know what? The whole thing's going to come crashing down at some point.
I'm glad you brought this up because a statement was made by John P. Angelos, the operating officer of the Baltimore Orioles. Now, I don't know if you know, but Baltimore.
That's what we should have done the show about. The fucking baseball game played for the first time
without
no people
anyone there
because everybody's a pussy.
Well, he basically knocked me on my ass with this quote because he just came out of left field with this, and hey, he came out of left field. That deserves a rim shot. Hang on. There we go. Hey, you know what? You did it exactly when I did it. So it
did I?
Anyway, yeah, they didn't cancel the game. They played the game in an empty stadium. It was so bizarre to look at this.
How fucking wrong was that? But anyway, yeah, I want to get to this quote. It's really good.
This is what he said in response to the postponing and suspending of several of the Orioles games. My greater source of personal concern, outrage, and sympathy is focused neither upon one night's property damage nor upon the acts, but is focused rather upon the past 4-decade period during which an American political elite have shipped middle-class and working-class jobs away from Baltimore and cities and towns around the U.S. to third-world dictatorships, plunged tens of millions of good, hard-working Americans into economic devastation, and then followed that action around the nation by diminishing every American's civil rights prosecutions in order to control an unfairly impoverished population living under an ever-declining standard of living and suffering at the butt end of ever more militarized and aggressive surveillance states. The innocent working families of all backgrounds whose lives and dreams have been cut short by excessive violence, surveillance, and other abuses of the Bill of Rights by government pay the true price, an ultimate price, and one that far exceeds the importance of any kids game played tonight or ever.
I read that and I was like, yes. I almost shared it on Facebook, but I knew nobody would give a fuck.
I mean, this is from a guy who runs a baseball team. This is his bread and butter, and to him,
yeah,
this is really what it's about.
And that was an amazingly eloquent statement. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't been drummed out of the league yet.
It was, well, yeah, I know. I'm surprised at that too. But it's honest, it's dirty, and it's truth. Mm-hmm. And truth is beauty.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, if that wasn't such a long quote, I'd want T-shirts printed up of it.
You probably, if you did a really, really small font, you could probably do the front and the back.
Dude, I would wear that T-shirt.
Instead, it's basically the title of a Fiona Apple album. It's a little too long.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about, I was watching Bill Maher the other day, and he had a guest on, Joseph Stiglitz, who's a professor at Columbia University. He wrote a book about income and inequality. But here's the problem with Stiglitz. He gets like from $50,000 to $175,000 per lecture fee every time he speaks, and he speaks a lot. So I don't think he's in the best position to speak of income inequality. I mean,
right.
What these people are paid obscene amounts of money to tell everybody else what they think their problems are. Right. Weird. So why do we listen to, and I'm asking you, why do we listen to rich people as they try to explain the perceived inequities in income?
I don't. Unless they're making sense on it. Because, if they're preaching, if a rich person is preaching socialism, what they're really preaching is, I made it through the door and I'm closing it after myself. Fuck you. That's what they're saying. They're saying,
history is the big problem there, isn't it? Because so many people have taken so much advantage, and they don't want anyone else to take that kind of advantage.
Exactly. They want to close it off and shut it down and pull the ladder in after them. And that's what a lot of these guys are all about. So when I hear a guy like this say something like that, I my ears perk up. It's there's some hope in the world.
You're talking about, yes, John P. Angelos.
Yeah.
But I do not, Baltimore is in his interest.
Fuck that guy. He's some ivory tower asshole.
He's an egghead.
Yeah, getting paid to go around and tell people how fucked up their lives are and all that shit. All these people who go around preaching about income inequality, which is really like a buzzword now. I mean, there is a problem with it, but I
don't think it's inequality, though. I think what it is a lack of opportunity more than anything else, and also ambition, just cold driving ambition. I know people. The
problem is that the Federal Reserve has been doing this. It's the Federal Reserve. It's the incredibly low interest rates are making it so it's very easy to borrow money to invest in the stock market.
Well, I think it makes a lot. I think what...
And who invests in the stock market? Mostly people who already have money. So if you don't have any money, you're fucked.
You're making yourself richer.
Yeah, and we're shipping out all the jobs so that people can't get any money. So the only people who have money are people who already have money, and they're doing really well. But everybody else, you're starting at the bottom, and you're screwed. There's no way up the ladder anymore because the ladder's been cut off. Like the people who are already at the top, they're making it like crazy. I mean, and we're not talking, I make a good living, but I'm not up at the top. We're talking the people who are really making money are like the top 0.1%. I mean, they are,
now
they are awash in money.
That's why what John P. Angelos says makes a lot of sense to me, because his interests are in Baltimore. He is about trying to get people to come to his games. And if they can't afford to, then they don't make any money.
Right.
So once we've covered that this is a liberal hotbed, and it's not necessarily racial, then these people, they're just like destroying their own town for no real reason.
It's racial for them.
It's not, well, for me.
I mean, I think that, that I've heard little stories that they're attacking white people in their houses and stuff like that. I don't know.
Are they really? Would they really be doing that?
Yeah, they probably would.
I don't get it. Some of these cops involved are black. All the leaders are black.
it's kind of like, I mean, I tell you the truth, I don't know. That's where your mob mentality comes in, where nobody's thinking straight.
Right.
Not that I mean, but seriously, I think if you're a person who's out there destroying property that doesn't belong to you, you're not thinking straight anyway. Like you're probably not capable of thinking all the way straight. I don't understand what would possess you to do that. Now, I do understand that there's a lot of helplessness and hopelessness in that particular, because there isn't any way out.
Yeah.
There isn't any way out.
No.
The only way out is to sell drugs. And
I'm not going to put a rim shot in there, but that was somewhat.
Well, it's true. And then really the only way that's a way out is you make a bunch of money and you get yourself killed.
Yeah.
And look, we have to give people opportunity. And we've been taking it away and taking it away and taking it away. Now, if there are people in this world who, even if you are giving them opportunity, they will not take it.
Right.
But they need to be given the opportunity before you can scold them for not taking it. Because there are a lot of people who are still living in a world 20 years ago where there still was opportunity, where it still was possible, and it really just isn't anymore. People, go to college and get your degree, and if you plan it right, you can do it right. If you plan it right, you can come out and you can get a job, but it's not going to be like it was.
Right.
The world is not your oyster, No,
not anymore. It's a rancid oyster.
And as soon as they can, they're shipping in H-1B visa people in here, and you're training them to do your job, and then you're fired.
Yeah.
And they're paying them 40% less. And and this is going on all over the country. And and it's not because, it is because companies do not exist to employ people and and provide health care. They exist to make a profit. And the harder you make that via government, the more rules you place, the more difficult you make it for them to make a profit in a free market, the more corners they're going to have to cut. And, and that's how you end up in this situation.
Yeah.
And that's not to say you need to let corporations get away with a whole lot of stuff, but you do need to stop clamping down on them all the time and adding to their burden.
Yeah.
You also need to stop making it easy for them to ship things overseas, or make it easy for them to ship jobs overseas.
Right.
We pay people to sit at home on disability who are perfectly capable of doing telecommuting jobs. And what do we do with the telecommuting jobs? We farm them out to fucking Asia.
Yeah.
Why do we do that? Why do we not have them here? We could have our disability folks making 3 times as much as they make on disability, and they wouldn't even have to leave the fucking house.
Seems we pay a lot of people to just sit around,
Yeah.
And including, I guess, welfare in that as well.
The thing is, though, we don't even give them that opportunity.
No,
we don't even give them that opportunity. Whether or not they take it is another question. But you don't even give it the shot. It doesn't even happen because we've destroyed everything.
Right.
And now with the, I don't know. We're just looking at being besieged on all sides by fucked upness. This year is going to see some really, really ugly economic news and some really ugly stuff that's uglier than 2008.
But then somebody will come up with some kind of a TARP program and they'll wind up getting elected president.
Maybe, or maybe nobody will buy it this time.
Maybe.
I don't know.
We can only hope.
The cynical side of me says, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The hopeful side of me says, look, I don't think a lot of people bought it the last time. And the last time, really, I think a lot of. But
we had no power. We had no power in the decision making of that process.
That's true. A lot of Republicans,
they're going to do everything.
You had McCain running against Obama.
Yeah.
And McCain suspends his campaign to go vote the same way Obama's going to vote on a bill that 80% of the public is against. Mm-hmm. Instead of standing up and saying, yo, I'm not for this, the public isn't for this, let's not bail out these banks. No. He's going to go and do that. That's what, and there, the moment that happened, you knew that there was no side. There was nobody on the side of the American people running in that election.
No, there wasn't. Absolutely.
Now if somebody stands up and says no, I think people will be with them.
Yeah, and then our government would turn their guns on us.
Well, it's possible.
That's what I think.
Well,
the government is...
There's a large part of the government, I think, that would love to do that.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I don't know. I got final thoughts.
This is fucking depressing. What the fuck, man?
Yeah. I guess I'm going to assume... Let me take a look. I just want to see what's going on in Baltimore at the moment.
Oh, Baltimore. Let's see what's on. Zero Hedge usually has all the bad news about everything.
Lord of the Flies. I wanted to say something about the fact that they had a White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is basically a bunch of politicians and media people slapping each other on the back, telling everybody they did a great job. And they did this in total ignorance of what was happening 40 miles over. And I was assuming that if this riot reached the border of D.C., they would take their guns and just kill all these people. I think they would have done that.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it.
Yeah. I didn't even pay attention to it. I don't pay attention to that stuff because it just makes me angry. And so I try and avoid things that make me angry.
Well, this curfew's in effect for another 3 days, I believe, and I think it is dying down finally.
Yeah, it looks to me like there's if Zero Hedge doesn't have a live feed of all the people killing each other in fucking in Baltimore, then there ain't nothing there. Ain't nothing happening.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up this episode of Blissville. I want to thank Andrew and
thank you very much for this wonderful, wonderful, uplifting episode of Blissville.
And that was a rim shot.
Ba-dum-bum. I would have done that.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.